There was a rabbi by the name of Rabbi Shimon of Yaroslav, and he was blessed with longevity. He lived in those days. He was passed away just before 100 years of age, and by all accounts, even today in fact, that would be considered, as they say in the classics, a good innings. When he was asked how it was that he merited to such a gift and a blessing of longevity, he responded by saying that whatever God threw at him, everything in life, be it those things which were overtly positive, and unfortunately those aspects of life which were overtly negative, he never for one moment allowed himself either to become depressed nor to ever get angry with God. He somehow or other was always able to accept, and perhaps even with joy, that which God had meted out to him. And he said it was for that reason that he had been blessed with longevity, and he gave an explanation. And the explanation which he cited was that when God gives us anything, and we view it in a negative light, essentially what we're saying is that God gave us something that wasn't positive, that almost God got it wrong and didn't understand what should have been done, and rather he did what he himself felt. And therefore said Reb Shimon, when that happens, sometimes in heaven they call the person upstairs to try and explain the deeds of God. And clearly when they do that, obviously that's the end of time. And therefore he said that the blessing of longevity lies in the ability of man to accept with grace, to accept that it comes from God, everything in life, both the positive and indeed the negative. This is borne out in this week's parsha when the Torah says, "Va'Avraham zakein ba bayamim." Avraham was elderly, coming in days. He was old. At this stage, he was in excess of 137 years old. By all accounts, a very long life. V'Hashem beirach et Avraham bakol, and Hashem blessed Avraham with everything. What does it mean with everything? So, the one explanation that is suggested, or that I would like to suggest, is that Avraham Avinu really didn't have an easy life. God was constantly and consistently testing him to see whether he would be able to stand up for his convictions, to see whether his commitment to God was indeed true and unwavering. And he had tests of being thrown into a burning furnace for his faith. God instructs him to leave his land and his birthplace to go to an unknown place. And ultimately, in last week's parasha, the final test, the test when God instructs Avraham Avinu to bind up and ostensibly kill his son Yitzchak. And in all of these, he was able to overcome, but it couldn't have been easy. He went down to Egypt, and his wife was taken from him. He comes back, and Avimelech takes his wife from him. He really had a difficult life. And yes, if you were to go to the bank and look at his bank balance, you'd say, wow, he's really lucky. But the truth is, that's nothing. The truth is, he really had it difficult. He had a son, Ishmael, who didn't give him much nachas during his lifetime. Indeed, Sarah had instructed that Hagar and Ishmael be kicked out of the home. He had to kick out his own flesh and blood. Avraham Avinu did not have an easy life. And notwithstanding all of that, Avraham Avinu beirach et Avraham bakol. Avraham Avinu saw God's blessing in everything. Not only in his wealth, not only in his successes, but even in those turbulent times of his life. Avraham Avinu saw God's blessing and God's gift. And therefore Avraham Avinu lived to a very long age. This is what Reb Shimon is saying. And really, the truth is that there's a psychological reason for that. You know, if people are happy, if people are not depressed, invariably it has a bearing not only on our mental well-being, but indeed on our physical well-being as well. And when a person goes through life with all of its trials and tribulations, nobody has it easy and seamless and perfect. When a person goes through all those difficulties, but is able to really, after all is said and done, thank God, express his gratitude to God, appreciate God, and see that God is giving him these challenges from which he will not be defeated, Abraham, but the person will in actual fact grow and be strengthened. And whilst we are not happy by these challenges because of the pain and the angst that they present to us, if we're able to see God's hand, God's loving hand, that is there in order to elevate us, to give us strength and courage and fortitude, to be able to overcome and ultimately to take that success out of that challenge and realize growth, a person leads a happy and a contented life, even through hardship and difficulties. And therefore, if we all want to be blessed as we do, with a long, good and a healthy life, we need to be able to look at everything in life, to be able to smile and to laugh not only at the jokes, but also to be able to smile sometimes through the difficulties, to be able to view the world in a positive light as an experience that God in his kindness is giving us. And I know it's not always easy, but hopefully it will give us the blessing, a blessing of life, a blessing of happiness, and a blessing of health. Good Shabbos.